and welcome to Voices of Truth, one-on-one with Hawaii's future, brought to you by the Koani Foundation. I'm Ahuke Kahu Cardwell, and here we are today on the island of Oahu. We're at the University of Hawaii. We have a fascinating guest on the show, so let's go on over here and meet her. Amy, aloha.
Aloha, Ehu. How are you?
Good to see you. I'm great, thanks. Thanks for being on the show.
Absolutely.
We're here at University of Hawaii for a very specific reason, because you have something important to do here with it, don't you?
Well, I try to.
Okay, tell us what that is. What do you do here?
Well, I'm a third-year law student at the Richardson Law School.
Wow.
And I'm working on a project to indigenize the law, specifically to change the law so that people can sell hand-pounded poi.
Wow. So indigenize the law. So it sounds to me like you want to change the law to allow things to happen that are currently now illegal, yeah?
Yes, that's true.
With respect to poi, food.
Poi.
Wow. So right now, the law says people can't do what?
The law says that people cannot sell hand-pounded poi, pa'iai. So we...
But wait a minute, Amy. Isn't hand-pounded poi the staple of Hawaiians?
That's right. At one time, hand-pounded poi was the staple food of Hawaiians. They thrived on this food for thousands of years, and so it's something that it was really rather strange when I found out that it was something that couldn't be sold to the public. It seemed at odds with the history of Hawaii and the history of the food itself.
Right. So people still do hand-pound poi today. It's just that they can't sell it. They either have to give it away or consume it themselves. Yeah.
That's correct. They can give it away. They can give it away at a private function, or obviously to if you're just making it for your friends and family, then that's okay. But even if you give it away to the general public, it's not allowed. So
it's illegal.
It doesn't matter if there's money exchanging
Wow.
hands or not. There is a rule that says all food contact surfaces must be smooth and easily cleanable.
Ah.
So a porous rock, a porous pohaku ku'iai, the poi pounder, was off the table then. That's illegal.
Because it's not smooth.
That's right.
It's porous, yeah, okay. So it's kind of like the law of unintended consequences, I guess, huh?
Very much so.
Some, the bureaucrats in Washington, D.C. never even thought to think about something like poi in Hawaii when they cranked these regulations out, and the state of Hawaii adopted them, and there you go.
I was, in my second year of law school. Every one of us has to write kind of this big paper, and I wasn't sure what I was going to write about, but I saw a weekly article, and there was a guy that was pounding poi that got shut down.
Who, by the cops?
It was by the health department.
Really?
And that's who
Food
enforces
police.
by the food police.
Wow.
Yes, and so I saw this article, and it was actually a follow-up article. So a great chef, Martha Chang, had written one article and said, there's this, I've never had it before, this freshly pounded poi. It's so delicious. And through that media, the Department of Health had to come in, and so she wrote another article and said, I'm the reason this guy got in trouble. Now he can't sell to the public. And that was the article I saw, and I read it and I thought, that is the strangest thing, that in Hawaii, you can't sell traditionally pounded poi. And nobody's got a good reason of why we couldn't at least allow consumers to make the choice of whether they wanted to buy it. Because I thought, well, even if scientifically, if Department of Health says, no, we can't allow this porous rock, we can't allow somebody to just sit outside and do this, then don't say it's not allowed at all. Just say you have to do certain things to inform the customer that this is what they're getting, and then they can make the choice. So the customer becomes the food police in that way.
Yeah, the buyer.
Which is how it always was. You would make poi outside because it was like kind of greedy to make it in behind and hide of what you've got. So you made it out for everyone to see, but also what that was showing was your practice and your protocol and were you following it.
Right.
So when I talk to Department of Health and when I talk to people about it, I always say, the protocol was always there. It's always been there. And so we can, if Department of Health wanted to regulate it, they should look to traditional protocol and follow that. I ran into a couple of legislators along the way that said, just bring me a bill. But I felt really strongly about making sure that this was something that the community wanted, because it needs to be, it really is up to the community. It's not up to me, and it's not up to just one single legislator or anything. The community has continued to get together to talk about this bill, and actually it wasn't a bill at first. At first it was, do we go to Department of Health and ask them to change their rules, or do we go through the legislative process and try to get a bill put in, and the pluses and minuses of doing either one of those going either direction to change the law, and we ended up with the bill and the ledge.
So the community did support what you were trying to do, yeah?
Yes, yeah.
Big time, huh? Wow. So Amy, it sounds to me like you're just this far away right now from having this thing kick into law, yes?
I wouldn't put it that way, just because maybe after all this legal training, we're always very cautious about, getting our hopes up too much.
Right. But it's gone much further than you ever thought, right?
Well, I wouldn't say that either, because I am an optimist at the same time.
Okay, all right.
So it's if I had to do percentages, I'd say we're 75–80% there.
This is really interesting, because if this thing passes, if your bill does pass, if the governor does sign it into law, the implications are very, very broad, because then that means this is just like chapter 1 in this big book of what you can do next, yeah?
I think it's a chapter in a book that's being read all over the world. There are a lot of indigenous communities that have had their protocols kind of supplanted by some outside law that's come in, and so it's sort of like bubbling up everywhere. And this is a good opportunity to show how in Hawaii, not only with pa'iai, but with other foods and other areas of life, that there is another kind of protocol that should be recognized and appreciated and honored. And that's Hawaii, and there's indigenous communities all over the world that can have that same kind of thing happen in their law, indigenize their law.
Yeah, so this law, if it's passed, could actually be used as a model or precedent for other cultures and other places, right?
That's right.
But there's also more to do here in Hawaii if this is passed, because would this just affect pa'iai, poi, or would it be all indigenous foods here in Hawaii?
This is specifically for pa'iai, and it's important to just keep it a very narrow bill.
Is that for legal purposes, or?
It's for legal purposes and to actually have the bill passed. So if you think about, the history of poi, it's the history of poi is it's a safe food. It's naturally fermenting, so it can be left out, and it doesn't need to be refrigerated, and it doesn't take electricity to make, and the protocol is there. So we can draft a bill that kind of can get all that inside that one bill. If you start saying, all traditional foods, then you're adding in potentially dairy products and meat products and other foods that weren't treated the same as pa'iai. Maybe they weren't left out, or maybe they were only left out for a short time before they were either consumed or, thrown away or whatever, which is not usual, because usually you only make what you're going to eat. So, so we want to keep it narrow, because this is a precedent for other foods, but other foods might need to have tweaks that recognize different things, so it shouldn't be treated the same as poi.
Very interesting. So I'm curious as to why you, as a person who is non-Kanaka Maoli, non-Hawaiian, decided to take this on. This is fascinating.
Oh, I've really learned a lot in Hawaii. I feel like I've grown a lot, and in some ways, not in some ways, in a lot of ways, I owe a lot to Hawaii now. And so, this is one small thing. I mean, I think for most people it's like, what is that? But I feel like I have the rest of my life that I'm gonna be trying to pay back what I've gotten. And every day in Hawaii is just like, it's better, and I keep growing. And so, if you look at, if there was a budget and what do you owe and what have you put in, like, I don't know that I'll ever be able to pay it back.
A balance sheet.
A balance sheet.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm always going to be in the red, because I get so much here, and it's like, I just look for these opportunities to, what can I do? And I should.
So is this your passion?
Is this being what part of it?
The indigenizing the law, is that your passion?
It's definitely come through, it's something that's I do really love that. Food is also a passion of mine, so it's an interesting blend. Before I came to Hawaii, I was in culinary school, and so.
Oh, really?
So
wow.
There's this steady stream of food and law and how it blends together.
Wow. So from one thing links to the next, links to the next, links to the next. Wow. Wow, so you're the food lawyer.
Yeah, and you know, our food, I think, you know, that's one area where we need a lot of work in the law. You know, if you look at our school systems and you look at, you know, what we eat right now, it's a battlefield that needs to be, you know, taken on.
A lot of work needs to be done there. I mean, it sounds like it's been really neglected, or and maybe even never gone into.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's all these regulations. So I wouldn't say it's never, you know, been worked on, but who's been working on it? You know, have the voices that needed to be in that been in that? And then where has it gotten us? So, you know, we started having mass production of food, so we had all these regulations that were the one size fits all to make sure everybody's at least meeting this minimum threshold.
Yeah.
But now we're looking at, is this kind of lifestyle where you only rely on things that were made from somewhere else being shipped into where you live, is that sustainable for the community? Are those foods good for the community? Is that really what the community wants to eat anyway?
Yeah.
So,
and can they afford it?
And can they afford it?
You know, Amy, one thing that really strikes me as just really ridiculous is that, you know, before the Western world, the Europeans discovered Hawaii, there were about as many people living here as there are now.
Yes.
And no food was imported. Zip, zero, none. They had enough to feed everybody and then some. And yet today, we have the same number of people, and yet practically all of our food is imported. So it leads me, you know, every time I think of that, it's like, so what went wrong? Where did we take that left turn where we should have gone right? It's crazy.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Because
crazy.
if the container ships ever stop, people over here start to starve, yes?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Which is a dangerous position to be in.
You're held hostage constantly.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Very much so. So that's one of the things about, you know, people sometimes ask, well, you know, who really cares about this? You know, we buy poi right now. And I said, well, yes, but you're buying milled poi, and it's great that we have this option as a product. You know, I wouldn't ever want poi mills to be shut down or for people to not buy poi from them, because they're in operation right now. They're providing poi for the kupuna, for the communities, which we should all appreciate. But this is a different kind of poi that is made, you know, like I said, there's no electricity used in the processing, and there's actually, you can use all local materials for the equipment. And then when you start to make poi in this way, you can use different varieties of kalo, of taro, because there's different textures and hardness to different kinds. And so a consumer that maybe before was just eating poi that was milled,
yes,
they can see that, wait, there's different varieties that can be eaten, but you have to pound them. So like wine, you start to develop a taste for all these different, you know, grapes, but instead of grapes, it's taro, and it's just amazing. So that protects our native biodiversity, which is an important piece of making sure that if something happens, we're all okay here, because we don't want just one variety to be the only thing we have, and then if one kind of pest or one kind of plant disease gets in, all of a sudden it wipes everything out, and now we're in trouble.
Right. So Amy, milled poi is made by machine, yeah?
Yes.
So that's far different. I mean, it tastes good, but it's far different than handmade, hand-pounded poi.
Yes.
It's like the difference between processed food and fresh food. The taste, texture, whether it's good for you or not, there's a huge difference. Yeah, wow. And like you were saying, it sounds to me like with hand-pounded poi and things like that, once, not only can we then begin to recover food sovereignty, if you will, but it actually will benefit the economy because it gives people jobs and income.
That's correct.
Wow, that's really amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's exciting stuff.
So Amy, tell us where we are now.
Right now we're at UH, Lo'i Patches, which is called Kanewai.
And why did you bring us down here?
Well, Kanewai is a special place for me. This was where I really learned more about taro cultivation. I was taking mahi'ai kalo during my second year of law school, which is kind of a strange thing because most law students just take law classes. They kind of stay in the library or stay in their books, I guess you could say. But for me, it's really important to lead a balanced lifestyle, because I think there's a problem in our society now with over-specialization. And so people get really specialized in one thing and they make decisions based on their specialty, and they forget how that decision affects other areas.
So wait a minute, you mean to tell me that you took a class here at University of Hawaii on how to make poi?
Not on making poi, but actually on how to grow kalo.
On how to grow it.
And how to keep Hawaii clean and how to manage all of these areas like this.
So you learned how to do all this to grow the taro, the kalo, how to manage all these areas.
Yes, well, started to. This is not anything you can do in 1 or 2 semesters.
Sure.
Just a beginning. And,
sure.
you know, there's you know, the Rapoons on the east side, they talk about, you know, they're still learning about how to grow kalo, and they've been doing it for a long time, so.
Wow, wow. I must say, Amy, you're the only attorney I think I've ever met in my life who was studying law on the one hand and learning how to grow taro on the other, huh? That's pretty interesting combination.
Well, there are some lawyers, Kapua Sproat, for instance, you know, she's, you know, there's some, not only her, but a lot of other lawyers that have come out of families that know how to do that. They've come from families that, so maybe they weren't having to study it because they already knew it, but it's not that unusual in that way.
Gotcha, very interesting. So what did this do for you? What was this experience like?
Well, you know, it put me in the ground, which I think is, when you talk about building connections with where you are at, I think literally getting your hands dirty is part of that. And so, you know, I learned about, that's where I first realized, oh, there's a lot of different varieties and they have different colors and, you know, they grow at different rates. And that's also where I really started learning about the cultural significance of the plant as an ancestor to Hawaiians. And that really was something that, then when I read that, this article on, you know, that they're shutting down this traditional practice, and knowing that connection and how if families could do that for a living and ku'i for a living, that how it brings that ancestor back right into the family, because instead of the mom or the dad that needs to go to work at McDonald's and then hire a babysitter, instead they stay with the family, and the children, you know, peel the kalo too, and they're right involved in that whole process. And I think that's a beautiful thing. I've been in Hawaii for 10 years, and so I've eaten poi all along the way, milled poi, but not knowing, you know, that it was milled or not pounded or anything. And, you know, people would say, oh, mix your lomi lomi salmon in, and so I'd keep trying it, and I never craved it. And then when I had it fresh pounded, I thought, oh, this is a different product. It's like eating sliced bread and then eating homemade bread.
Right out of the oven.
Right out of the oven, you go, oh, this is a little different.
Yeah, there's completely different, nothing similar between the two.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. Wow, so Amy, you're a student here. Have you ever been on the faculty here at the University of Hawaii?
I have not.
Is it something that you want to do?
I wouldn't mind doing it. I've, you know, lectured at some Kamehameha Schools classes and talked about this exact issue recently, and I enjoy you know, teaching, because I think in teaching you're actually doing a lot of learning, so, and I enjoy learning, so.
Wow. So if you were to put down on your job application what what position you wanted to have up here, what would that be?
Well, it's a tough one. When I applied to law school, you know, one of the things that I put on my application was that I didn't think that the job that I will have is invented yet.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow. Why did you put that down?
Well, I think we live in a changing world, and it doesn't make sense to think that we're going to get to where we need to be doing the same things that we've always done.
Yeah, exactly. Do you have any inkling at all what that might be yet or not?
Well, you know, I think that it's definitely going to involve people and making change that makes sense for the place, because I am just not somebody that's interested in jumping into a cubicle and, you know, just doing kind of paper pushing all day. It's just not where my skill set is, and I think it's a waste to, you know, put people in things that they're not the best at. Put them in places that they're great, you know. And I really enjoy being around people and learning from people and trying to make change with what I've learned. And
yeah. So it sounds to me like it's still an open book, if you will, or open case as to whether you're going to end up to be a practicing attorney or not. You may not be.
Maybe not. I wouldn't. Initially, when I went to law school too, I said, I'm not going to be an attorney. I don't want to be a traditional attorney. But going to Richardson has restored my faith in the law.
Is that right?
That's right.
Wow.
I think I had a kind of a low opinion of the whole field. And so I thought, I want that skill set. I want to know how to interpret the law and what that means to make law and all that, and then take that into business or take that into some other area, because I have a theory on business too, which is you have a business heart or you don't. And so there's some people that go to business school and they have the business heart, and then they get the kind of business mind, they get the degree. But not everybody who graduates business school has the business heart. So they know what they're supposed to do, but they're not at the end actually very successful in business because you have to have that heart.
Right.
So I try to, get the skill sets and combine the things that I already have with the things that I need to get trained on, like law, which is a huge area.
Yep.
And then see where it takes me and just follow the path that is mine that I'm supposed to be walking and not try to jump on somebody else's train because I'm not supposed to go where they're going.
Okay, but if you had a magic wand, Amy, and you could wave the magic wand and create whatever you wanted, what would it be?
I think something that involves teaching and consulting and, one of the things that I sometimes talk about with friends is, I came here 10 years ago and I didn't know, like most people that come here, know anything about this place. And, when you think of all there is to know, I still don't know anything about this place. But in the little bit of time that I've been here and been able to learn, there's such important lessons. And I think that if folks that came here, even just for a week, even just to, lay on the beach for a little while, if they could know these key things, a few things, it would really change the way that they approach this place and respect this place.
Yeah, it would all of a sudden be far more than a vacation place on the beach, mean far more than Waikiki and Mai Tais, wouldn't it?
Yes, very much so.
So it sounds to me like there's a future for somebody, maybe you, to play a very significant role in taking what you've done so far and educating people who come here, maybe ecotourism, something like that. And actually, Hawaii could be a showcase for the world for food sustainability, yeah?
I think so.
Wow. So Amy, what do you think the future of Hawaii, what does it look like to you?
Well, to me, I think we, in some ways, go back to some of those things that were distinct here on land management, water management, how you dealt with people, that you took a 7 generations view, meaning that you didn't make a decision for today, for tomorrow, for 50 years, and even 100 years, but you thought about what I'm doing right now, how is that going to affect 7 generations out? And I think that kind of thinking is where we have to get back to if we have any chance of living sustainably. And that, to me, that 7 generations kind of living is living sustainably.
Voices of Truth, one-on-one with Hawaii's future, airs not only in Hawaii, but across the U.S. and many cities around the world. And so there's a lot of people watching this right now who don't live in Hawaii. And even for the people who live in Hawaii, they may, you're very accomplished. You're a very accomplished person. And so I'm sure they're looking at you and going, well, she can do it because she's strong, she's smart, she's all these things, but little old me, I could never do that. What would you say to them?
I would say that's wrong. We were with a group of keiki the other day that were learning about making poi boards and stones and pounding poi. And, what could these kids do? And it was funny because we said, you know what, you can do something, and it's these very small things. Like every time you go to a restaurant, even if they don't serve it, you say, do you guys have poi? And then, do you have poi'ai? And you start this trend of somebody there that's in the food service industry that goes, oh, no. And then people start asking, so you create this, even just one question. So if everybody just asked that one question, everybody was talking about it, you change the dynamics.
You build the awareness, yeah?
That's the first step.
Wow. What's the second step then after building awareness?
After the second step, I think after you build awareness, then you have people that are ready to do something about it. And then I think then you gather up, you talk, what is the best thing from there? Because I don't think anyone should make decisions by themselves. So you talk story. And it's always good if there's somebody that doesn't agree. That's good because you need to hear, well, what is it about what I'm doing that maybe isn't right? And what do I need to take into account that I haven't thought of? And so I think talking with even the people who oppose you most, that's the conversation you should be having.
Wow, wow. So Amy, you're an individual who saw something that needed to be fixed and fixed it. But along the way, you brought in the community along with you because you saw from the very outset that this just wasn't an Amy Brinker thing to fix. This was a community-wide issue to address, yeah?
Well, I wouldn't characterize it like that. I think the community's brought me in.
Oh, really?
It's something that's been an issue that people were fighting this battle and other battles like this long before I was here, long before I knew and even thought about coming to Hawaii. So I would say that I've been lucky enough to be brought into it.
Wow, wow. And inspiring you are. I got to tell you that right now. Amy, thank you so much for being on the show.
Absolutely.
Good luck to you. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
Keep growing the taro. Keep pounding the poi.
Right on.
And good luck in getting your bill passed and the governor signing it and crossing that finish line.
Thank you.
All right, great. And to our viewers, mahalo for joining us on Voices of Truth One-on-One with Hawaii's Future. Remember, you can watch us on the web 24/7 at voicesoftruthtv.com. I'm Ehu Keikahu Cardwell, and until next time, ahui ho! Mahalo for watching Voices of Truth One-on-One with Hawaii's Future. Watch us on the web 24/7 at voicesoftruthtv.com. You'll find all our shows, including this one, in case you want to see it again or share it with family and friends. Also view our weekly video commentaries at freehawaiitv.com. And check out our blog, published daily, at freehawaii.info. It's all part of the Free Hawaii Broadcasting Network.